Welcome back to the SSL Family Dad channel. We are finally getting ready for some indoor gardening. And tree growing and other things. And so I wanted to take you guys on kind of a tour. We have moved everything inside, all of our fruit trees and other things, and give you a couple tips, show you, we're going to repot some things, we're going to get some things kind of into bigger containers. What are we using for soil mixtures, and how are we taking care of all this stuff? So we're going to kind of go through a little bit of a tour and a little bit of gardening fun. So let's check it out. So coming in the entryway of the house, this is what we call the atrium out here, and then this is what we call the family room out here. And so we brought in all of our, this was on the porch, just some decorative kind of stuff, ferns and other things. And then as you come down, we've got this ledge right here that we've got these window boxes. They don't quite fit on the railing, but they work just fine. This gets a lot of sun. This is all south facing. We'll actually remove all these shades, and this is another project on my list to get some new ones, but this lets in a lot of sunlight all down in here and all over on this ledge, and even back here into the family room area. So we've got another one of these decorative pots down here. So that was brought in. So this stuff will overwinter, and then we'll put this right back outside springtime, and it'll just continue to grow. So we've got some stuff to replant and add to in these boxes. These were kind of herb boxes. So we've got cilantro and rosemary and parsley and basil and other things growing in here. And so we'll kind of get this cleaned up a little bit. But as we come down into the actual atrium, this is where all the fun is. We've got the blow-up hot tub. That will be coming in soon when the weather is cool enough, and it'll go right in the middle of all this fun. We've got the mini aquaponics system here. This was an Amazon purchase. I will link to this. This thing is super cool. You can't really see the fish in there. There's a couple dark colored fish in there. And basically the way this works is their waste and their breathing mechanism produces ammonia. That ammonia is in the water, gets filtered up through these stones and things. There's a whole bunch of stones up in the top there. A little pump pumps water up in there. That goes through a nitrification process, which actually turns it into nitrogen and other nutrients, which the plant then uses to uptake. So we're not growing anything in here for food, but this is some type of a lily, and does really well in the water. So this is kind of an experiment, but this has grown really well in here. So we've got this fiddle leaf deal. We're going to be replanting that today. This is the old clementine. We've had this for a long time, and I'm going to get some fruit off this this year. I'm determined. So I'll talk a little bit more about that later. We've got some of these little railing boxes. So I wasn't really happy with this box. Look what happened. It just bows out. The plastic's too thin. So bought that at Home Depot. I'm not real happy with it. But so a little fun fact about tomatoes: you generally have two different types: determinate, which this is aroma. Most aromas are determinates. And then you have an indeterminate. These are all determinates, and so they generally will grow to a specific length of time, or they have a genetic kind of a timer in them, and eventually they'll die off for the season. But the little suckers that grow off, you can actually pluck those out. The little suckers that grow in the angle of a branch here. So this is a sucker. So this one can actually be taken out and replanted, and it kind of starts that genetic clock over again, and you get a new plant. So this one here, I've cut all back, and this was actually a sucker that is growing off of here, and so I think this will continue to grow as well as this one. This one here might be end of life. This might be dying off, but we'll see if we get some new sprouts in here. We can replant and kind of keep the timer going on those throughout the winter time. This is avocado tree. This is its first year. I haven't had any fruit on this yet. We have had some flowers, but no avocados set yet, and so we're going to try to hopefully get something off of this year as well. More tomatoes. So the indeterminate here, this one is I always remember this by: their fate is not determined. Indeterminate means that this will grow kind of indefinitely if you keep it in a decent environment. I've actually plucked some of the suckers off and stuck them in the ground. Sometimes I can get them to reroot, sometimes not. Same with this one. This was a branch from this main tree or vine here. But this is another tomato that we'll revive here and try to get growing through the winter time, get us to produce some tomatoes. We've got a lemon tree. This was its first year. We bought this through the winter time. Look at all this new growth. It's done really well, but I need to support it up. It was growing towards the sun, and it it kind of grew crooked. So we've also got a bunch of strawberries growing down here. These are everbearing, so they'll continue to fruit for us throughout the winter time down there at the bottom. We've got several coffee trees. We had some bugs eating that, so hopefully now that we've brought it in, we'll eliminate that problem. But these have been growing really well. These were tiny little plants when we got them this year. This is a banana. Again, we had some, I think our goat got out several times outside and ate these. But this was just in fact, I thought this died throughout the winter time, but it actually just came back and it's doing really well. Same with the coffee, another coffee here, another lemon tree here. This one's doing really well. This was given to me by my nephew, Jonathan. Jonathan, your tree's doing really well. This is an olive tree, bush, I don't know. This one had a lot of flowers on it too, but we never ended up having any olives, so we'll see. This one's a little tricky with watering. You're supposed to let it dry out a little more than I think I did. And then here we have the banana that is doing the best. This was the biggest one, and actually I think we ended up with more than one. There's several that have kind of grown here. I don't know if I can separate those or if I should just let this whole thing grow up. I'm not sure if I should prune them or just go with it. So we may put this into a larger pot as well. So these grow very fast. You'll see the new growth right here. That is the next to leaf, and they just keep on coming out and folding leaves out, and it just keeps on growing up. So most of these pots I've been getting at Dollar Store or Home Depot, and I'm trying to get these little dollies for them so I can spin them around very easily so they keep them, the sun is only coming from one side here through these windows, and so this way I can easily just kind of rotate them around or move them around down here. And last but not least, we have the grow towers. We'll get these replanted a little bit here today as well. We've got some cleanup to do on some older dead stuff. We'll get this kind of cleaned up. We've got some onions in here, some basil. We got some strawberries that are on the back, down at the bottom. We got some kale and things growing in here. So lots of work to do, so let's get to it. We got some compost to collect, some things to repot, and some cleanup to do around here, and we'll plant a bunch of new stuff as well, and we'll see what happens this year. These are Lisbon onions, and we planted these in the winter time last year. So we've got a lot of new growth and a lot of old growth here, so we'll just kind of clip these off, and none of this is going to go to waste. All this stuff all the old dead stuff that we're pulling out here, we'll tuck this right back into these grow pods. So this will just get stuffed up in here. That'll break down and provide nutrients back to the soil. So when you're growing in very limited space, like inside, like we are here, these vertical grow towers make a huge difference in the amount of space you can utilize. So we can grow an enormous amount of food in these little, I don't know, they're kind of like little grow pouches, right? All along the sides of these things. So this is about 5 feet tall. This kale is a different kind of kale. It's a small leaf kale. And it's been growing really well in here. We really haven't done too much to this all summer. I haven't really watered it too much. But it lasted all through the summer. And kale is one of those plants that's it'll just keep on growing. It's very hardy. And so we have tons of kale. We can come down here and just snip these back, and then it'll just keep on growing out of here. So I've cut back this basil, and I don't know if you can see it in here or not, but there's a little leaf right down here starting to grow off that trunk. So this basil that I pulled off now I can hang and dry, and that should regrow over there, and it'll start a nice new plant. I've got some more basil over here that we'll cut back the same way. This stuff got real leggy because the summertime we have a lot of shade out here. We don't get a lot of sun in the summer. So this is a fairly new compost pile, and I'm learning a little bit about composting in the woods. So I had way too much carbon in here, not enough nitrogen, so we need to add more kitchen scraps and more manures. So I had a lot of wood chips, I had a lot of leaves, and wood shavings from the rabbit hutches, a lot of chicken bedding and chicken manure, but the ratio wasn't good. So this it also is a lot drier than I thought it would be. So this stuff isn't completely broken down, but I'm digging down to the bottom here where all the leachate is soaking into the soil. And we'll use this for some nutrients. So the idea with compost, of course, for those of you who are new to the whole sustainable approach to gardening, is that we're not going to be using any fertilizer. I used fertilizer last year and it's expensive. So this is what we have. This is not completely broken down, but there's a ton of chicken manure and other things. I know you want to eat it all, but you can't. There's a lot of wood chips and pieces in here. I did a lot of raking and cleaning around that area that all got put into the compost pile. But this certainly has tons of nutrients in it, more than any out of the box garden soil is going to have. So I'm just going to create a small layer of this right on top of all the leaves and other stuff that we cleaned out from the tree. Any of the dead leaves and stuff, that all goes right back in the pot. None of that gets thrown away. We're also adding some actual microbes and bacterias and fungi and other things to the pot, which is going to help a lot. So that's all we'll add to that one. So I've got about some third generation bush bean seeds that we have saved over the years. And so I'm going to start this year with these bush beans. And I think these will do really well. These are also a legume, so they don't need a lot of nitrogen. Really, they don't need any nitrogen. They fix nitrogen from the air. And then the organic matter from that dead plant will get buried back in the soil, which will add nitrogen to the soil. So this is a way for me to start to build the soil up in these towers a little better. This is all kind of pre-bagged soil that I have in here, and it's okay. It's organic soil, but it's not that great. So these things you just fill up. I have 5 tiers, so you fill it up to level 5 on each one, and it automatically drips water then down through the center, and it goes and it distributes it evenly to each layer. You will notice that the back side of these towers did not grow very well. You see the kale is really small back here. And that's because they don't get a lot of sunlight. I don't turn these stay fixed in this orientation. And so, but these beans should grow up enough where they'll kind of wrap around and get a little sunlight. And whatever doesn't grow, it just gets buried back in the soil and provides nutrients for the other plants. So I also went around and added some of the beans to the orange, the citrus trees, basically the lemon and the orange and the avocados, so that there'll also be a little nitrogen fixing going on in those pots. Since there's some empty space, I always like to grow things in every place I can. I also threw some beans in these pots here and the tomatoes there. The great thing about growing these bush beans is they grow super fast. They produce super prolifically in a short period of time. So in under 90 days, these will be grown to maturity, harvested, and pulled out, and I can plant something else. So right now it is October. So I have October, November, December. So just after Christmas, I should be able to replant all these areas with a new crop, something lettuces or anything that requires kind of a low light. A lot of lettuces, a lot of leafy greens and things that do really well in the shade. And if you want to check out these green stock grow towers, these things are awesome. I'll put a link in the description to these. We are an affiliate with them, and you get a discount if you use the link in the description, and we get credit for everybody who goes over and found them here and wanted to buy some for themselves. So pretty cool little product, and it certainly allows us to grow a ton of food in a small space and all through the winter. So let me know what you guys think. Little tour and planting today. I always do this every fall. There'll be lots more. I'll give you updates on the growing in here. Hopefully things do better this year than they did last year. We had a lot of new first year trees in here, and so learning kind of how to do all this inside in this grow space. And so hopefully we'll learn and do better. Can I get an orange? I'd love to get a lemon or an avocado or an orange this year. Hopefully I can get these things to flower and keep them fertilized, get them enough sunlight so that they produce for us. So wish me luck on that. Don't forget to hit thumbs up on today's video. Of course, subscribe if this is your first time here. Love to have you tag along. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.